Welcome back, everyone. What you're looking at is a new cosmetic launching for China in the latest update. Please keep in mind that what goes into China and the American versions of the game are different, and some things are even catered for the specific regions themselves. Nonetheless, this is pretty cool, and I'm happy for the players that'll get to enjoy it. The appearance of this cosmetic also scales with your resonance and comes complete with a portal, as well as altering the looks of your ultimate abilities. I'll leave a link in the description below to the Chinese article if you'd like to see more pictures or video. And with that out of the way, let's get started with the new set we'll be receiving in the update, since I've already had a plethora of questions on how this set might work and what types of builds might benefit the most. Banquet of Eyes is centered around punishing enemies suffering from your damage over time effects and awarding you with buffs. The most popular question so far is what counts as damage over time. Well, some examples of damage over time are bleeds, poisons, and burns. Now it's important to not confuse these with continual damage or ground effects. An example of continual damage is Crusader's Condemn, which continually deals damage to targets within its range, and an example of a ground effect is the residual molten puddle on the ground after a wizard uses Scorch. So let's talk about the set bonuses. The 2-piece increases damage dealt to enemies suffering from your damage over time effects by 15%. First build that comes to mind for me is for Demon Hunters, so let's talk about Impale for our examples. But keep in mind there are many builds, and I'm not claiming this is the best use, it's just an example to help everyone understand the potential uses of the set. Previously, we'd typically see 2-piece Gloom or 2-piece Shalbass, which would buff the damage after using Daring Swing for Gloom, or buff your primary with Shalbass. Now using the Bleed from Impale, we could basically keep this damage increase up nearly 100% of the time for all of our abilities. Moving on to the 4-piece, our critical hit chance is increased by 2.5% up to 25% for every damage over time effect you inflict upon nearby enemies. So we mentioned the Impale Bleed, but we could also use a Burn from Multi-Shot, and perhaps we have a Seeping Bile equipped as well. You can see how the critical hit chance would start to add up. And again, take a look at the tooltip. For every damage over time effect you inflict upon nearby enemies, this means that even a damage over time effect like Bleed will stack as long as it's on multiple enemies that are within range. Finally, we arrive at the 6-piece. When you apply a damage over time effect to an enemy, you enter a Poison Rage for 12 seconds, during which time your damage will corrode enemies, dealing damage over 3 seconds. You cannot enter Poison Rage more often than once every 40 seconds. Keep in mind, the 4-piece doesn't state that you're limited to 2.5% crit per type of dot either, so having 2 of the same dot will also stack in addition to having the dots on multiple targets. This effect also has a 30% theoretical uptime, and if you play a class like Demon Hunter that aims to disengage in PvP when Vengeance is on cooldown, your effective uptime is actually slightly higher in combat. My first impression is that Demon Hunter will still want to use at least 2-piece Vithus and possibly 4-piece Vithus in a setup like this, but don't be surprised if we see builds like this get some use with the new 5-star legendary gym in addition to 2-piece Banquet. I hope this gives everybody some insight on how the set functions and gets the gears moving for potential ideas. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments or share your builds with the community as well. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.